Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. Today, I want to talk about a support that is near and dear to my heart, and that is Muldamba. Muldamba is one of my favorite supports, not just in Paladins, but in pretty much any video game. I think he has an amazing design, and he is one of the most balanced supports in the game. And I want to talk today about why he's not exactly great in today's meta, even though on paper, he's a very well-designed champion, and kind of a weird phenomenon that has kind of affected the support class as of recently. So let's grab Spirits Chosen, let's grab my regular healing build, let's grab some Chronos, and let's go. So we're just going to do a bit of Spirits Chosen action here, and talk about some of the problems that afflict really more so the support class than they do Dumba. And I guess what I want to talk about first regarding that is just how Dumba works, and why Dumba is a perfectly reasonable support to play in Paladins, just period. First of all, you can see he's got excellent range for a support. Not every support actually gets to enjoy the range that Muldamba does on his Spirits Chosen. I was healing from well across the point there. Yeah! Using my right click. And for Ceres and Furia, they get similar range, but they do have to specifically pick a talent for it, which I guess is something that kind of works against their favor if they want to play something else, like maybe Solar Blessing. And plenty of supports like Muldamba, Muldamba, what the heck am I saying? Grover Grok. Those champions don't have nearly the same range as Muldamba. So that's really good. And then also you can see it has pretty reasonable healing output too. It gives them a nice burst at the start, not too overwhelming, but still good burst. And it gives them healing over time that lasts for 4 whole seconds. It can stack on itself. And if I run a specific card, I can give my teammates movement speed while I do that. So that is a very reasonable support option, and I can stack it with the Gourd to get pretty good healing output. Is it the highest in the game? Absolutely not, but it is more than adequate to heal people? Yes, absolutely. Ow. I am dead. And the Gourd also heals multiple people at the same time, so Muldamba has the ability to heal one person. He can concentrate both abilities onto one person to really give them a lot of healing, or he can spread out the healing by using the Gourd to heal one person, or potentially 2 or 3 people, and then use the right click to even heal a 4th person. So he's got good healing there. The Gourd also provides him self-sustain, and it provides him extra damage against the enemies while the Gourd is on the ground. Let's say, for example, I throw the Gourd at point as Makoa pushes up here. If their enemy Makoa were to also touch the point, then he would be taking damage from my Gourd. On top of that, because Muldamba doesn't have a channeled heal like Ceres or Io, Muldamba can reasonably consistently pump out damage. Why is that not healing her? Okay, that was weird. I spammed right-click on her like 3 times and it didn't work. Anyways, let's kill Buck there. So yeah, he does reasonable damage output throughout the match too. I mean, it's not the most consistent out of all supports because it's a projectile, an arcing projectile at that. And it doesn't have the highest DPS. Io actually has very similar DPS, but an easier and more consistent projectile to use. But it's still more consistent damage than you might get out of someone like Ceres. Okay, we're gonna fear that there. I think I'm dead, though. Yeah, I'm dead, though. I messed up that slither. I did it accidentally a little bit too late. I was waiting for it to come off of cooldown. But yeah, reasonable damage, and he can combo that with his crowd control, which is also reasonably consistent, especially if you buy Deft Hands. The crowd control can actually be relatively oppressive to the point that enemies will buy resilience just for Dumba, if Dumba is good enough at applying it. So that is definitely something good about Dumba as well. Crowd control is another factor besides healing that really can bump up the efficiency and efficacy of a support. Because if a support is all in on healing, no damage, no crowd control, no supportive features, then they'll just get countered by late game cauterize pretty hard. And that's no good. So Dumba does have these other options to help support his team in ways other than healing, right? He has the damage, he has the crowd control. Like I said previously, he has the movement speed buff he can apply as well. And he's generally pretty tough to kill. Slither is a great movement ability. It's not the best for traversal, don't get me wrong. But it gives him complete and total immunity, and that, in and of itself, is a very valuable tool to have. And Dumba's Sphere, you know, it does get countered by resilience, but it does also pierce through shields, so that is some added utility that his normal stun doesn't have. What I'm trying to convey with all of this, speaking to Dumba's strengths, is that Dumba is an absolutely reasonable support to go. If you're good at him, he is a very valuable asset to have on your team. No questions asked. I love having Dumba on my team if he's skillful enough at the game. He's also a very good support for high skill expression. If you are good at Dumba, it shows. If you're good at Ceres, it doesn't show as much because she's a very low skill champion relative to somebody like Dumba. So he is such a good support design, but with all that being said, if you recall back to the video where I analyzed my rankings for the top 5 videos I published this year, going over the top 5 supports, top 5 DPS, etc., in that video you could see Muldamba had the lowest win rate out of every support in high elo ranked. And it's such an interesting phenomenon, because obviously that data alone might make you think, oh, Dumba's trash, but there's a lot of interpretation to be had there, and I think there is a way you can interpret this to really indict the current support meta that we're in, because in my opinion, the current support meta is really stale. Basically, for the entirety of Season 6, the same supports have been on top of the meta, with some very slight changes. Grover, top of the meta since the start. Furia, well, I mean, she was a bit shaky when keywords were first introduced, but after the rework to Cherish, she is hard meta. Some would even call her better than Grover in some circumstances. Furia is insane. Lillith, pretty much since the start of the season, has been top tier. Genos, for a very long time, was top tier. He's been nerfed. I wouldn't call him as top tier now, though still very valuable to have in some circumstances. The meta has been basically the same for the entire season, and these supports, I think, are the reason why Dumba is bad right now. Not because Dumba himself is bad, but because the supports are overtuned. And this is where the whole phrase, so balanced that he's bad, comes into effect. Muldamba is a balanced, reasonable, and very healthy support for this game to have. But because so many of the supports we have now... I love that. But it's because so many of the supports we have now are just so overpowered that Muldamba, in comparison, is bad. Let's take a pretty straightforward and reasonable example, or a sort of comparison, right? Furia versus Muldamba. I think both supports are very similar, if you really sit down and you kind of analyze what they do. Both of them have right-click abilities that are, you know, do a little bit of both. They have... Hello. Ow. 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 They have a big burst, and then they have some healing over time. But why on earth would I pick Muldamba, who has about a 500 burst heal with about, what is that, 80 over time, roughly, without Cauterize? Why would I pick Muldamba, who has that, when I could pick Furia, who on the average tank scores upwards of 2,000 healing on her burst regularly? Because Cherish is just that overtuned. And on squishy champions, she's still healing for 1,000 plus. Both of them have the exact same cooldown. Why would I pick Muldamba? Also, Furia has a stun, just like Dumba. Both of them are slightly different. You know, Furia's is obviously a large beam, it can pierce, it can hit multiple people behind cover. Muldamba's can't do that, but it is much more consistent. That's kind of a moot point, but both of them do have stuns, so Furia's not necessarily lacking in that department. And then in terms of the damage, well, Muldamba, yeah, he has pretty decent damage, but Furia's is just better. She has a shotgun that does more DPS that also scales with how much healing she does. It's hit scan, it can headshot, it's better at applying Cauterize, it's just a better weapon through and through. And then, I mean, Furia's movement ability is probably the only thing that Muldamba actually wins at, because they're basically the same, but Dumba's has the immunity frames. So, that's where Dumba wins, I guess, but that's not enough to justify picking him, because also, if we compare ultimates, well, Muldamba's ultimate is very good, but it really falls off when Rizzo comes into the picture, and Muldamba is such a strong support in the crowd control department that he's one of the more popular champions to buy Rizzo for. So it makes sense that you would buy Rizzo for him, and then his ultimate gets shut down. Furia's ultimate, however, literally cannot be countered. Like, it's just that good. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh! Let's try and win this. Yeah, there we go! Oh my god, I'm just dead. But yeah, Furia's ultimate literally cannot be countered, because it just gives everyone on her team, near her, a 30% movement speed and damage increase. So her ultimate is just one of the best ultimates in the game. So you put all that together, and Muldamba, who is a perfectly balanced support, when against Furia, just loses. Because Furia is just busted beyond belief right now. And so that is really the phenomenon that I'm talking about, which is why I think Muldamba, who I don't think really even needs buffs, is doing so poorly in the win rate category right now. Because these key supports that are just dominating the meta are just so good that champions like Dumba just do not compete these days. Why would you pick Muldamba? Why would you pick Saris? Why would you pick Aya? Why would you pick any of these champions when you could pick Grover? Or Furia? Or Lillith? I don't know, man. I don't know why you would. Apart from the fact that, in my opinion, Dumba is the most fun and well-designed support in the game. But that's obviously just an opinion. So, yeah. Oh, hello. Oh, no, Mako got in the way! Oh, no! I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm letting these guys down a little bit, because I'm so much more distracted by the commentary. But yeah, I just wanted to make a video talking about that, because I think, ultimately, Muldamba's state in the meta, where he is statistically the strongest he's ever been in terms of the right-click healing number, the gourd healing and damage numbers, and his health numbers. He is the strongest he's ever been, and he's still doing poorly. I think that's really an indictment of the support meta that we are in, where, you know, we have supports that are so overtuned that Muldamba fails to compete. I think that's a sign that these supports who are dominating the meta really need nerfs. Dumba does not need buffs. Dumba is a great support. But he's failing because Furia is so overpowered. Grover is so overpowered. Lillith is so overpowered. And a lot of it partially is due to the keywords. You notice 2 of these 3 meta supports right now are keyword champions. And if we were to remove keywords from Furia tomorrow, Cherish would be a lot weaker. So, keywords have got to go. And, yeah, let's try and fix the champions who are at the top of the meta, rather than buffing Muldamba, because Muldamba he really doesn't need buffs. Look at that, we were able to put out 106,000 healing, we were able to get 4 kills. I didn't really do a lot of damage, but a lot of the crowd control I did certainly helped save a few people. You literally saw Mako was thanking me because I ulted somebody to save his life. So, yeah, let's fix these supports at the top of the meta, rather than maybe buffing this one who's sort of at the bottom or in the middle, you might say. Because, yeah, if you have 3 characters that are so meta-defining that basically every other support in the game is just kind of weak compared to them, you know you've got a problem. And we don't want healing to be too overwhelming. I would argue Furia Cherish is too overwhelming to play against. Grover, too overwhelming to play against. I would rather have supports be impactful, but not overbearing. I think Muldamba nails that paradigm perfectly. And, yeah, it sucks that he's not really super at the top of the meta right now. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about Muldamba in the comments section down below. I absolutely love this support. And so, I hate to see him kind of just being so overshadowed by some of these supports at the moment. Not that I don't like Grover, or, you know, Furia or Lillith, but just the balance is all wonky. And, you know, supports, Paladins has some of the best supports out of any hero shooter. I would say Paladin supports are leagues better than Overwatch supports in terms of their design. A lot of them, anyways. But, yeah, the balance is just kind of making the experience really frustrating these days. Because you have some supports that are generally fine, but there's just no reason to pick them when some champions are so above the rest. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to drop a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, check out the Twitch channel, the VODs channel, all the stuff linked in the description, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.